You know what's worse? It's not even the betrayal. It's how well you underestimated me.
The underwear wasn't mine, and it sure as heck wasn't Sierra's usual brand. I stood in our pristine kitchen at 11:30 on a Tuesday night, holding a pair of black lace underwear that cost more than my work boots. They'd fallen out of my wife's gym bag when I'd moved it from the counter, the same gym bag she'd claimed to forget at her emergency work meeting that somehow always coincided with her personal training sessions. My name is Nick Barrow, and I've been married to Sierra for 15 years. I'm 43, an engineer turned home renovation contractor, and I've always prided myself on being observant. It's kept me alive on construction sites and profitable in business. But apparently I'd been blind as a bat in my own house. The wine glass sitting on the granite countertop told another story. Sierra's lipstick was on the rim, but there were 2 sets of fingerprints in the condensation. I know because I'd learned to dust for prints when I was renovating crime scenes for the city, occupational hazard of being the guy they call when buildings need to be restored after investigations. Dad? You okay? I turned to see Alex, my 17-year-old daughter, standing in the doorway. She had Sierra's dark hair, but my skeptical eyes, and right now, those eyes were fixed on the underwear dangling from my fingers. Just doing some unexpected laundry, I said, forcing my voice to stay level. Your mom forget something? Alex shifted uncomfortably. Dad, we need to talk. Before I could respond, headlights swept across our front windows. Sierra's BMW pulled into the driveway, and I heard her heels clicking up the walkway. I shoved the underwear into my pocket just as she breezed through the front door. Sorry I'm so late, honey, Sierra called out, her voice carrying that particular brightness she used when she was lying. You know how these client emergencies can be. She appeared in the kitchen doorway, still wearing her designer workout clothes, the kind that cost $200 and had never seen actual sweat. Her makeup was perfect, not a hair out of place. For someone who'd supposedly been in crisis management mode for 4 hours, she looked remarkably refreshed. How's Eli doing? I asked casually. Sierra's smile flickered for just a moment. Eli. Your subordinate, the one with the Tesla and the protein shake obsession, figured if there was a work emergency, he'd be involved. Oh, right, Eli's fine. He wasn't at the meeting tonight. Interesting, because his car had been parked at Tabitha's mansion, our neighbor's place, for the past 3 hours. I knew because Mrs. Luntz, the 70-year-old gossip queen who lived across the street, had texted me a photo with the caption, "Looks like someone's having a party." Dad? Alex said again, more insistently. Sierra's eyes darted between us. What's going on? You two look like you're plotting something. Just father-daughter bonding, I said. Alex was about to tell me something important. Weren't you, sweetheart? Alex took a deep breath. Mom's been lying to both of us. The kitchen went dead silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. Sierra's face went through several expressions, surprise, anger, calculation, before settling on wounded innocence. Alex, honey, what are you talking about? I saw you, Mom, at Tabitha's house with Eli, 3 weeks ago, and last Tuesday, and tonight. Sierra's face went pale beneath her foundation. You don't understand what you saw. I understand plenty, Alex said, her voice steady despite the tears starting to form. I understand that you've been sneaking around while Dad works 60-hour weeks to pay for your BMW and your designer clothes and your wine club memberships. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Not heartbreak. I'd save that for later. This was something else. Something calculating and patient and very, very angry. Alex, go to your room, Sierra said sharply. No, I said quietly. Let her finish. Sierra whirled on me. Don't you dare undermine me in front of our daughter. Undermine you? I laughed, and it didn't sound pleasant even to my own ears. Sierra, I think you've done a pretty good job of that yourself. That's when the doorbell rang. We all froze. It was nearly midnight on a Tuesday. Normal people didn't make social calls at this hour. Through the front window, I could see a figure on our porch, tall, broad-shouldered, shifting nervously from foot to foot. Expecting someone? I asked Sierra. She shook her head, but her eyes said otherwise. I walked to the front door and opened it. Eli Hodge stood on my porch, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else in the world. He was 38, spent more time in the gym than most people spent at work, and drove a leased Tesla that he thought made him look successful instead of desperate. Nick, he said, trying to sound casual. Hey man, is Sierra here? She forgot her laptop at the office and she's got that big presentation tomorrow. I smiled, not a nice smile. Eli, come on in. He hesitated. Actually, I can just leave it. I insist. I stepped aside, gesturing him into my house. We were just having a family discussion. Perfect timing. Eli walked into the kitchen like a man heading to his execution. Sierra stood frozen by the counter, Alex beside her with her arms crossed. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. So, I said, closing the door behind him. Laptop, huh? Yeah, Sierra's laptop for her presentation. Funny thing, I said conversationally. Sierra's laptop is right there on the counter. Has been all evening. Eli's eyes flicked to the counter, where Sierra's MacBook sat in plain sight. His face flushed red. I meant her work laptop, he stammered. The one the company provides? The one that stays at the office because it's against company policy to remove it from the building. Eli opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. No sound came out. Show me your hand, I said. What? Your hand, the one in your pocket. Show me what you're holding. Nick, I don't think... Show me. The command in my voice was unmistakable. Eli, despite being 4 inches taller and 30 pounds heavier, took his hand out of his pocket and opened it. A pair of black lace underwear fell to my kitchen floor. Well, I said into the silence, that's interesting. Sierra made a sound like a strangled cat. Alex stared at Eli with disgust. Eli looked like he wanted to disappear into the hardwood. It's not what you think, Eli said quickly. Really? Because I think you've been screwing my wife, and you came here to return her underwear like some kind of perverted lost and found service. Dad, Alex said quietly, I need to tell you something else. I kept my eyes on Eli. What's that, sweetheart? This isn't the first time. I've been watching them for months. I have pictures. That got everyone's attention. Sierra spun around to stare at her daughter. Pictures? Alex pulled out her phone. I wasn't trying to spy, but when your mom starts sneaking out every Tuesday and Thursday claiming she's at wine club or the gym, and then I see her car at Tabitha's house with Eli's Tesla, I started paying attention. She held up her phone. On the screen was a clear photo of Sierra and Eli in Tabitha's backyard, locked in an embrace that left no doubt about their relationship. You little witch, Sierra snarled. The words hung in the air like a slap. Alex recoiled as if she'd been struck, and something inside me, something that had been cold and calculating, suddenly caught fire. Get out, I said to Eli. Nick, let me explain. Get out of my house, now! Eli bent to pick up the underwear, but I stepped on his hand. Not hard enough to break anything, but hard enough to make my point. Leave those, I said. Evidence. He straightened up, rubbing his hand. You're making a mistake, man. Sierra and I, we're in love. She was going to tell you. I laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. Love? Is that what we're calling it? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like a middle-aged woman having a midlife crisis with her subordinate. It's more than that. It's pathetic. I cut him off. You're pathetic. Sneaking around like teenagers, using our neighbor's house like a cheap motel, and then having the balls to show up at my door with my wife's underwear in your pocket. Eli's face flushed red. You don't know what you're talking about. I know exactly what I'm talking about. I know you've been parking at Tabitha's every Tuesday and Thursday for 2 months. I know you've been using the company credit card to buy hotel rooms downtown on Fridays. I know Sierra's been telling me she's at wine club while she's actually getting wine drunk with you in hot tubs that I'm paying for through her allowance. Both Sierra and Eli stared at me in shock. How do you... Sierra started. Know all that? Because I'm not stupid, Sierra. Naive, maybe. Trusting, definitely. But not stupid. I pulled out my phone and showed them a screenshot. Credit card alerts are a wonderful thing, especially when your wife is spending $300 at the Marriott downtown while she's supposedly at book club. Sierra's face went white. You've been spying on me. I've been paying attention. There's a difference. I turned back to Eli. You have 10 seconds to get off my property before I call the police and report you for trespassing. The police? Eli laughed nervously. Come on, Nick, we're all adults here. 9 seconds. You can't just... 8. Eli looked at Sierra, who was staring at the floor. No help there. 7. Fine, he said, backing toward the door. But this isn't over. 6. He turned and walked quickly to the front door. I followed him, making sure he actually left. As he reached his Tesla, I called out, Eli! He turned. Touch my wife again, and you'll be scraping your teeth out of your seat cushions. He got in his car and peeled out of the driveway, clipping our mailbox on the way. I made a mental note of the damage. It would be useful later. When I walked back into the kitchen, Sierra was crying. Not the pretty tears she used when she wanted sympathy, but ugly, mascara-streaking sobs. Nick, please, let me explain. Explain what? That you've been cheating on me for months? That you've been lying to my face every day? That you just called our daughter a witch for telling the truth? I didn't mean... You meant every word. I looked at Alex, who was standing by the counter with tears in her eyes. Are you okay, sweetheart? She nodded. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. You have nothing to apologize for. This isn't your fault. I turned back to Sierra. But this conversation is just getting started. The next morning, Sierra was gone before I woke up. Her note on the kitchen counter was brief. Staying at Margot's, need time to think. Margot Henley was Sierra's best friend and enabler, a real estate agent who specialized in selling overpriced houses to people who couldn't afford them. She lived in a McMansion on the other side of town and had been divorced 3 times, which made her Sierra's go-to advisor on relationship drama. I crumpled up the note and threw it in the trash. Then I made coffee and started planning. People think revenge is about anger, but they're wrong. Anger makes you sloppy. Revenge is about patience, preparation, and precision. It's about understanding your enemy better than they understand themselves. I'd been underestimated my entire life. In school, because I was quiet and preferred books to sports. In business, because I worked with my hands instead of pushing papers. In my marriage, because I trusted my wife and didn't question her stories. But being underestimated is an advantage if you know how to use it. My phone buzzed. A text from Joe Martinez, my old friend who managed the local gym where Sierra claimed to work out. Dude, you need to see this. Can you come by around 10? I dropped Alex off at school first. She was quiet during the drive, and I could tell she was worried about what would happen next. Dad, she said as we pulled up to the school, are you going to divorce Mom? I don't know yet, I said honestly, but whatever happens, you and I are going to be fine. Okay? She nodded and got out of the car. I watched her walk into the building, shoulders straight, chin up. She was tougher than both her parents combined. The gym was mostly empty at 10 in the morning. Joe was waiting for me in his office, a small room overlooking the main floor. He was built like a linebacker and had the personality to match. Loud, loyal, and completely incapable of keeping his mouth shut when he was pissed off. Sit down, he said, closing the door behind me. What's going on? Your wife's been lying to you. I figured that out last night. No, I mean really lying. She hasn't been to this gym in 3 months. I stared at him. What? Her membership expired in February. She never renewed it. But according to the front desk, she's been telling people she works out here every Tuesday and Thursday. How do you know this? Joe pulled out his phone and showed me a screenshot of the gym's member database. Sierra's name was highlighted in red. Expired membership. I checked after you mentioned her workout schedule last month. Thought it was weird that I never saw her here. Where has she been going? That's what I wanted to show you. Joe pulled up another screen on his computer. Security footage from the parking lot. Tuesday nights for the past 2 months. He clicked play. The timestamp showed last Tuesday at 7 p.m. I watched Sierra's BMW pull into the parking lot, sit there for exactly 5 minutes, then leave. She's using the gym as an alibi, I said. Gets better. Check this out. Joe pulled up another video, this one from Thursday night. Same routine, Sierra's car, 5 minutes, gone. But here's the interesting part, Joe said. He fast-forwarded to 7:30 p.m. Look who shows up 30 minutes later. Eli's Tesla pulled into the same parking spot Sierra had used. He's doing the same thing, I said, creating an alibi. Bingo. And I checked with Rita down at Murphy's bar. She says they've been meeting there every Tuesday and Thursday for drinks before going somewhere else. Murphy's was a dive bar on the outskirts of town, the kind of place where nobody asked questions and everybody minded their own business. It was also where Rita Kowalski worked as a bartender. Rita knew everyone's secrets and wasn't shy about sharing them with the right people. I need to talk to Rita, I said. Already set it up. She gets off work at 3. Said she'd meet you at the diner on 5th Street. I looked at my friend. Why are you helping me? Joe's expression darkened. Because Sierra's been telling people you're controlling and emotionally harmful. Says you control her money and won't let her have friends. Rita heard her talking to that real estate agent friend of hers, Margot. They're building a case against you for the divorce. The cold feeling in my chest spread to my arms and legs. What kind of case? The kind where she gets the house, the kid, and half your business while you get supervised visitation and an assault charge. I sat back in my chair, processing this information. Sierra wasn't just cheating. She was planning to destroy me. There's more, Joe said. Rita heard them talking about your renovation contracts, something about reporting you to the city for code violations. My renovation business was built on my reputation for quality work and attention to detail. A few bogus code violation reports could ruin me, especially if they came from a respected PR professional like Sierra. They're not just having an affair, I said slowly. They're planning to take everything. Looks that way. I stood up. I need to make some calls. Nick, Joe said as I reached the door, be careful. If Sierra's willing to lie about you being controlling and emotionally harmful, she's willing to do a lot worse. Don't worry, I said. I'm not going to give her the chance. I spent the rest of the morning making phone calls and checking records. Sierra had been busy. She'd opened a new bank account without telling me, transferred $5,000 from our joint savings, and had been meeting with a divorce attorney for the past month. But she'd made mistakes. The bank account was in her name only, which meant the transfer could be considered theft of marital assets. The divorce attorney she'd chosen was known for aggressive tactics, but had a reputation for sloppy paperwork. And most importantly, she'd underestimated me. At 3 o'clock, I met Rita at the diner. She was 55, had been tending bar for 30 years, and had seen every kind of human drama imaginable. Nothing surprised her anymore. Your wife's a piece of work, she said without preamble, sliding into the booth across from me. Tell me what you heard. She's been coming in with that gym rat boy toy of hers for about 2 months. Always sits in the back corner, always pays cash, always talks too loud after the third drink. Rita pulled out her phone and showed me a photo. Sierra and Eli sitting close together in a booth, his hand on her thigh. I take pictures of all my customers, Rita explained. Insurance, you know. Too many people try to claim they weren't drunk when they drove into a tree. What were they talking about? Lots of things. How you're boring in bed, how you don't appreciate her, how she deserves better. Rita's expression hardened. But the interesting stuff came last week. She leaned forward, lowering her voice. They were talking about how to get you out of the house. She said something about making you look unstable, maybe violent. Said her lawyer told her that if she could prove you were a threat, she could get an emergency restraining order. How would she prove that? Didn't say exactly. But they were talking about setting up situations where you'd lose your temper. Maybe in public, with witnesses. I felt my jaw clench. What else? The boy toy's married too. Wife doesn't know yet, but Sierra's got some plan to tell her at the right moment. Something about maximum damage. Eli's married? 3 years. Wife's name is Jennifer, works as a nurse at the hospital. Sweet girl, comes in sometimes with her girlfriends. Has no idea her husband's screwing around. I filed that information away. It might be useful later. One more thing, Rita said. They're planning something for this weekend. Some kind of confrontation. I couldn't hear all the details, but Sierra seemed excited about it. What kind of confrontation? Don't know, but she kept saying he won't see it coming. I paid for Rita's coffee and thanked her for the information. As I walked back to my truck, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. We need to talk. Meet me at Tabitha's house at 8 p.m. Come alone. S. Sierra wanted a confrontation? Fine. I'd give her one. But first, I had some preparations to make. Tabitha Morrison's mansion sat on 3 acres at the end of Halcyon Road like a monument to bad taste and new money. She'd made her fortune selling workout videos online and had spent it on a house that looked like a Vegas casino had love with a European castle. I parked across the street at 7:30 and watched the house through binoculars. Eli's Tesla was already in the circular driveway, along with Sierra's BMW and Margot's white Lexus. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I could see figures moving around in what looked like the living room. My phone buzzed. A text from Alex. Dad, where are you? Mom called and said you were acting crazy. I texted back. I'm fine. Stay at Grandma's tonight like we planned. Love you. At exactly 8 o'clock, I walked up to Tabitha's front door and rang the bell. The door opened to reveal Tabitha herself, 45, plastic surgery enthusiast, and the kind of woman who thought having money meant having class. Nick, she said, not quite meeting my eyes. Sierra's waiting in the living room. I followed her through a foyer that looked like it had been decorated by someone who'd never seen a museum, but had heard them described secondhand. The living room was worse. White leather furniture, gold accents, and a chandelier that probably cost more than my truck. Sierra sat on the couch with Margot beside her. Eli stood by the fireplace, trying to look intimidating. They'd clearly been drinking. There were wine glasses and an empty bottle on the coffee table. "Hello, Nick," Sierra said. Her voice was steady, but I could see the nervousness in her eyes. "Sierra, Margot?" "Eli." I nodded to each of them in turn. "Nice little intervention you've got set up here." "Sit down," Sierra said, gesturing to a chair across from the couch. "We need to talk." "I'm fine standing." "Sit down, Nick." There was something in her tone that made me look more carefully at the setup. Margot had her phone out, positioned like she might be recording. Eli had moved closer, within arm's reach if I sat in the chair Sierra had indicated. "Actually," I said, "I think I'll stand right here." Sierra's mask slipped for just a moment, showing frustration underneath. "Fine," she said. "We'll do this the hard way." "Do what the hard way?" "Nick," Margot spoke up, "we're all concerned about you. Sierra says you've been acting erratically, paranoid, maybe even violent." I looked at her with genuine curiosity. "Violent? When was I violent?" "Last night," Sierra said. "You threatened Eli. You physically intimidated him. I told him to leave my house after I caught him with your underwear in his pocket. Most people would call that reasonable." "You stepped on his hand," Eli said. "I stepped near his hand. If I'd wanted to hurt you, Eli, you'd still be in the hospital." Eli took a step forward. "Are you threatening me now?" "I'm stating a fact. You're what, 6'2", 220? I'm 5'10", 190. But I've been working construction for 20 years, and you've been lifting weights in an air-conditioned gym. If I wanted to hurt you, the pretty muscles wouldn't help." "See?" Sierra said to Margot. "This is what I'm talking about. He's becoming aggressive." I laughed. "Aggressive? Sierra, I caught you cheating and told your boyfriend to leave. That's not aggressive. That's normal." "You've been spying on me," Sierra said. "Tracking my credit cards, following me. I've been paying attention, something I should have done months ago." Tabitha, who'd been quiet until now, spoke up. "Nick, maybe you should consider counseling for anger management." I turned to look at her. "Tabitha, you've been letting my wife use your house to cheat on me. I don't think you get a vote in this conversation." Her face flushed red. "You didn't know that Sierra and Eli have been meeting here every Tuesday and Thursday for 2 months? You didn't know they've been using your wine cellar and your hot tub and probably your guest bedroom?" "That's enough," Eli said, taking another step toward me. "Is it? Because I think we're just getting started." I pulled out my phone and held it up. "Smile, everyone. You're on camera." The room went dead silent. "I've been recording this whole conversation," I said. "Amazing what you can pick up with the right app. Sierra threatening to claim I'm violent, Margot offering to be a witness, Eli trying to intimidate me, and Tabitha admitting she knew about the affair." "You can't record us without permission," Margot said. "Actually, I can. This is a one-party consent state. As long as one person in the conversation knows it's being recorded, that would be me. It's perfectly legal." Sierra's face had gone pale. "What do you want, Nick?" "I want the truth. I want you to admit what you've been doing, and I want you to stop trying to make me look like the bad guy. And if I don't, then this recording goes to your boss, Eli's boss, Margot's real estate broker, and anyone else who might find it interesting." Eli moved faster than I expected, lunging for my phone. But I'd been expecting it. I sidestepped, grabbed his wrist, and used his momentum to send him face first into Tabitha's expensive coffee table. He went down hard, scattering wine glasses and knocking over the empty bottle. A deep red streamed from his nose. "Oh my God," Tabitha screamed. "My table! Jesus, Nick!" Sierra jumped up from the couch. I looked down at Eli, who was groaning and trying to sit up. "I told you the muscles wouldn't help." "You broke my nose," he mumbled through the mess running down his face. "No, you broke your nose when you tried to attack me and ran into the table. Big difference." Margot was frantically typing on her phone. "I'm calling the police." "Go ahead," I said. "I've got video of him attacking me first. Clear case of self-defense." "This is insane," Sierra said. "You're insane." "No, Sierra, I'm awake. For the first time in months, I'm completely awake." I looked around the room at the 4 of them, Sierra staring at me like I'd grown a second head, Margot clutching her phone, Tabitha fussing over her broken table, and Eli injured, a dark stain spreading across the white carpet. "Here's what's going to happen," I said. "Sierra, you're going to stop telling people I'm controlling and emotionally harmful. You're going to stop planning to frame me for domestic violence, and you're going to return the $5,000 you stole from our joint account." I didn't steal. You transferred marital assets to a secret account without my knowledge. That's theft. What if I don't? I held up my phone again. Then everyone gets to hear this recording. Your boss gets to hear about how you've been using company time and resources to plan your affair. Eli's boss gets to hear about his ethics violations. And Eli's wife, Jennifer, gets to hear about what her husband's been doing at Tabitha's house. Eli's head snapped up despite the blood. You leave Jennifer out of this. Then you leave my family out of this. All of you. I walked toward the door, then stopped and turned back. Oh, and Eli. You might want to get that nose looked at. I think it's broken. I left them there. Sierra furious, Margot scared, Tabitha crying over her furniture, and Eli dripping onto the carpet from his face. As I walked to my truck, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. I felt like myself again. The next morning brought consequences. I was drinking coffee and reading the news when my phone started buzzing with calls from unknown numbers. The first one was from Sierra's boss, Margaret Walsh, the regional director of the PR firm where Sierra worked. Mr. Barrow, she said without preamble, I need to speak with you about an incident involving your wife and one of our employees. What kind of incident? Eli Hodge was admitted to the hospital last night with a broken nose and a concussion. He's claiming you attacked him. I sipped my coffee. Is that what he's claiming? Yes, and I have to ask, is this related to the rumors about Mr. Hodge and your wife? Margaret Walsh was nobody's fool. She'd built her company from nothing and had survived 20 years in a cutthroat business by being smarter than everyone else in the room. What rumors? I asked. Mr. Barrow, I've been in this business long enough to recognize an office affair when I see one. What I need to know is whether this is going to become a problem for my company. I thought about the recording on my phone. That depends. On what? On whether Sierra and Eli are planning to continue their relationship on company time? There was a long pause. I see. And you have evidence of this? I have evidence of a lot of things. I think we should meet. Are you available this afternoon? I'll make time. The second call was from Eli's wife, Jennifer. Her voice was shaky, like she'd been crying. Mr. Barrow, this is Jennifer Hodge, Eli's wife. Hello, Jennifer. I need to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the truth. Is my husband having an affair with your wife? I closed my eyes. Jennifer was innocent in all this, and she deserved better than what was coming. Yes, I said simply. She was quiet for so long I thought she'd hung up. Then I heard her take a shuddering breath. How long? At least 2 months. Maybe longer. Do you have proof? Yes. Can I see it? I thought about the photos Alex had taken, the credit card records, the video from Rita's bar. Jennifer, are you sure you want to see it? Sometimes it's easier to just know. I need to see it, please. Okay. Can you meet me somewhere private? We arranged to meet at a coffee shop across town at 2 o'clock. I spent the morning organizing my evidence and trying to figure out how to show a woman that her husband was a cheating bastard without destroying her completely. At 1 o'clock, my phone rang again. This time it was Sierra. What did you do? She screamed into the phone. Good morning to you, too. Margaret Walsh called me into her office. She's asking questions about Eli and me. What did you tell her? I told her the truth. You bastard. You're trying to get me fired. I'm trying to get you to stop lying. And Jennifer called me. She knows, Nick. She knows everything. Good. She deserved to know. You're destroying people's lives. I laughed, and it wasn't a pleasant sound. I'm destroying lives? Sierra, you've been cheating on me for months, stealing money from our joint account and planning to frame me for domestic violence. But I'm the one destroying lives? That's different. How is it different? Because I wasn't happy. Because you don't understand me. Because you're selfish, I finished. Because you wanted to have your cake and eat it too. You wanted the security of being married to me and the excitement of screwing Eli. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. You made a choice, Sierra. Now you get to live with the consequences. I hung up on her. At 2 o'clock, I met Jennifer at the coffee shop. She looked like she hadn't slept, and her eyes were red from crying. She was 35, pretty in a wholesome way, and worked as a pediatric nurse at the local hospital. Everything about her screamed decent, honest person who didn't deserve what was happening to her. Thank you for meeting me, she said, as I sat down across from her. I'm sorry it came to this, she nodded. Show me. I pulled out my phone and started with the least damaging evidence, The credit card records showing hotel visits, the gym security footage showing the fake alibis. Jennifer looked at each piece with growing horror. "He told me he was working late," she said quietly. "He told me the hotel charges were for client meetings." "I'm sorry." "Show me the rest." I hesitated. "Jennifer, you don't need to see. Show me." I showed her Alex's photos. Jennifer stared at the image of her husband kissing my wife in Tabitha's backyard, her face completely expressionless. "How long have you known?" she asked. I suspected for a few weeks. I knew for sure 3 days ago. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Because I wasn't sure how much evidence I had, and because I hoped I was wrong." Jennifer nodded slowly. "What are you going to do now?" "I don't know. Divorce, probably. You?" "Same." She looked up at me. "Can I ask you something? When you found out, were you angry?" "Furious." "What did you do with the anger?" I thought about Eli's broken nose and Tabitha's ruined coffee table. "I'm still working on that." Jennifer smiled for the first time since I'd met her. It wasn't a happy smile. "Good," she said, "because I'm just getting started." That evening, I was at home with Alex when the doorbell rang. I opened it to find 2 police officers on my porch. "Mr. Barrow?" the older one said. "I'm Officer Martinez. This is Officer Johnson. We need to ask you some questions about an incident last night." "Come in." They followed me into the living room. Alex looked up from her homework with worried eyes. "Sweetheart, why don't you go upstairs for a few minutes?" I said. After she left, Officer Martinez pulled out a notebook. "We received a complaint about an assault. Eli Hodge claims you attacked him at a private residence last night. Eli Hodge tried to grab my phone and ended up running into a coffee table. I have video." I showed them the recording. They watched the whole thing, including the part where Eli lunged at me and I sidestepped. "Looks like self-defense to me," Officer Johnson said. "Mr. Hodge also claims you've been stalking him and your wife," Officer Martinez said. "I've been investigating my wife's affair. There's a difference." I showed them the evidence I'd gathered. Credit card records, security footage, witness statements. By the time I finished, both officers looked uncomfortable. "Mr. Barrow," Officer Martinez said, "I have to ask, are you planning any retaliation?" "Against who?" "Against your wife or Mr. Hodge." I thought about it. "Officer, my wife has been cheating on me, stealing from me, and planning to frame me for domestic violence. Eli Hodge has been helping her. What would you do?" The 2 officers exchanged glances. "We'd probably hire a good lawyer," Officer Johnson said. "That's exactly what I'm going to do." After they left, Alex came back downstairs. "Dad, are you in trouble?" "No, sweetheart, but things are going to get complicated for a while." "Are you and Mom getting divorced?" I sat down beside her on the couch. "Probably. How do you feel about that?" She was quiet for a long moment. "Relieved," she said finally. "Relieved? Dad, you've been miserable for months. You just didn't know it. And Mom? Mom's been mean, really mean. Not just to you, but to me too." "What do you mean?" "She's been telling me that you don't love us anymore. That you're planning to leave us. She said if you ever found out about Eli, you'd probably hurt her." I felt that cold anger settle in my chest again. "She said what?" "She was trying to make me afraid of you. But I know you, Dad. You'd never hurt anyone who didn't deserve it." I hugged my daughter, and for the first time in days, I felt like maybe everything would be okay. But I was wrong about one thing. I was absolutely planning retaliation. The war escalated over the next 2 weeks. Sierra moved back into the house, but took the guest bedroom, claiming she was afraid of me. She'd hired a lawyer, the aggressive, sloppy one I'd expected, and was building her case around a controlling and emotionally harmful husband narrative. But I'd been busy too. Margaret Walsh had fired Eli after our meeting. Turned out the company had a strict policy about relationships between supervisors and subordinates, and Eli had violated about 6 different ethics rules. Sierra received a formal reprimand and was transferred to a different department with a pay cut. Jennifer had filed for divorce and taken half of everything Eli owned, including his precious Tesla. She'd also filed a complaint with his professional licensing board. Apparently, personal trainers weren't supposed to sleep with married clients during company time. But Sierra wasn't going down without a fight. I was in the hardware store on a Saturday morning when Margot cornered me in the paint aisle. "You need to stop this," she said without preamble. I looked up from the primer I was examining. "Stop what?" "You know what? Sierra's life is falling apart because of you. Sierra's life is falling apart because of Sierra. She made a mistake. She made a choice, multiple choices over several months. Margot stepped closer, lowering her voice. She loves you, Nick. She wants to work things out. Funny way of showing it. She's scared. You've been acting like a different person. I set down the paint can and turned to face her fully. You're right. I have been acting like a different person. I've been acting like someone who won't be lied to, stolen from, or manipulated. If that scares Sierra, maybe she should have thought about that before she decided to cheat. She never meant for it to go this far. Margot, she opened a secret bank account and transferred $5,000. She met with a divorce lawyer. She was planning to claim I was controlling and emotionally harmful so she could get a restraining order and take everything I own. How much further was it supposed to go? Margot's face flushed. You don't understand what it's like for her. What it's like to be married to someone who works 60 hours a week to pay for your BMW and your designer clothes and your wine club memberships? Yeah, that sounds terrible. You're being cruel. I'm being honest. There's a difference. I picked up my paint and started walking toward the checkout. Margot followed me. Nick, please, she's my best friend. Then you should have been a better friend. You should have told her that cheating on her husband was a bad idea. I didn't know. I stopped walking and turned to face her. You knew. You helped her lie to me. You provided alibis, you covered for her, and you were ready to testify that I was controlling and emotionally harmful based on nothing but her word. Margot's face went pale. How did you... The recording, remember? You offered to be a witness to my violent behavior before you'd seen me do anything violent. That's not what I meant. That's exactly what you meant. You were part of the plan to destroy me. I paid for my paint and left her standing there. But Margot wasn't done. That afternoon, she called Alex. Your father is being very unreasonable, I heard her say through Alex's phone. Your mother just wants to come home and be a family again. Alex looked at me, eyebrows raised. I nodded. Margot, Alex said. My mom called me a witch for telling the truth about her affair. She's been lying to me about my dad for months, trying to make me afraid of him. Why would I want her to come home? Because she's your mother. Being someone's mother doesn't give you the right to cheat on their father and then lie about it. You don't understand adult relationships. I understand that my mom has been screwing her coworker and trying to frame my dad for misuse so she could take everything he owns. That's not an adult relationship. That's a crime. Alex hung up. I'm proud of you, I told her. Margot's an idiot, Alex said. She's been divorced 3 times. Why would anyone take relationship advice from her? That night, Sierra came home drunk, not tipsy, not buzzed, falling down, slurring her words drunk. She stumbled through the front door at midnight, woke up the whole house, and started screaming at me in the hallway. You bastard! She yelled, loud enough for the neighbors to hear. You ruined everything! I came out of my bedroom in pajama pants and a t-shirt. Alex appeared at the top of the stairs, looking worried. Sierra, you're drunk. Go to bed. Don't tell me what to do. This is my house, too. It's also our daughter's house, and you're scaring her. Sierra looked up at Alex, and her expression softened slightly. Baby, I'm sorry. Mommy's just upset. Mommy's drunk, Alex said flatly. I had a few drinks with friends. There's nothing wrong with that. There's something wrong with coming home at midnight, screaming at Dad. Sierra's face hardened. Your father has been poisoning you against me. No, Alex said. You did that all by yourself. Sierra started crying then. Big dramatic sobs that would have been more convincing if she hadn't been swaying on her feet. I never wanted this to happen, she wailed. I just wanted to be happy. You were happy, I said quietly. You just wanted to be happier. That's not true. Sierra, go to bed. We'll talk in the morning when you're sober. I don't want to talk to you. I want you to forgive me. Those aren't the same thing. She stared at me for a long moment, mascara streaking down her cheeks. I hate you, she said finally. I know. I hate what you've done to my life. I know that too. She stumbled toward the guest bedroom, slamming the door behind her. Alex came downstairs and sat beside me on the couch. Dad? Yeah? When this is all over, will things go back to normal? I thought about it. No, sweetheart, but maybe they'll be better. How? Because we won't have to pretend anymore. The next morning, Sierra was gone again. But this time, she'd left more than a note. She'd taken jewelry, clothes, and several items that belonged to both of us, including my grandfather's watch and a painting we'd bought together on our honeymoon. But she'd made another mistake. She'd also taken Alex's laptop, apparently thinking it was mine. Alex was furious. "She stole my computer," she said, staring at the empty desk in her room. "We'll get it back." "All my photos are on there. My school projects, my college applications." "Did you back anything up?" "Some of it, but not everything." I pulled out my phone and called Sierra. It went straight to voicemail. "Sierra, you took Alex's laptop by mistake. She needs it back for school. Call me." She didn't call back. That afternoon, I drove to Margot's house. Sierra's BMW was in the driveway. Margot answered the door, looking uncomfortable. "She doesn't want to see you," she said. "She doesn't have to see me. She just has to give me Alex's laptop back." "What laptop?" "The one she took from Alex's room this morning, along with my grandfather's watch and half the art in our house." Margot's eyes widened. "She said those things belonged to her. My grandfather's watch belonged to her." I didn't know about the watch. Or the laptop. Margot, she stole our daughter's computer. Alex has college applications on there." Margot looked genuinely distressed. "I'll talk to her." "Don't talk to her. Get the laptop and bring it to me. Now. I can't just— Margot, if Alex's laptop isn't in my hands in 1 hour, I'm calling the police and reporting it stolen, along with everything else Sierra took." "You wouldn't—" "Try me." 45 minutes later, Margot showed up at my house with Alex's laptop and a box containing my grandfather's watch and the other items Sierra had taken. "She's really hurt, Nick," Margot said as she handed over the box. "She's really caught," I replied. That night, Alex and I ordered pizza and watched old movies. For the first time in weeks, the house felt peaceful, but I knew it wouldn't last. Sierra was planning something. I could feel it. The charity gala was Sierra's idea. The annual Halcyon Heights Community Foundation dinner was the social event of the year for our suburban enclave, a chance for everyone to dress up, drink expensive wine, and pretend they cared about local charities, while really just showing off their wealth and status. Sierra had been on the planning committee for 3 years. This year, she was the co-chair, which meant she'd been planning the event for months. It was supposed to be her moment to shine, her chance to cement her position in the social hierarchy of our little town. She called me on Thursday afternoon. "I need you to come to the gala," she said without preamble. "Why would I do that?" "Because we need to present a united front. People are talking, Nick. The whole town knows about our problems." "Whose fault is that?" "It doesn't matter whose fault it is. What matters is that we handle this with dignity." I almost laughed. Dignity. Sierra, you've been telling people I'm controlling and emotionally harmful. You've been spreading lies about me all over town. And now you want to present a united front. I want to try to save our marriage. Our marriage died the first time you slept with Eli. That's not true. It's completely true. You just didn't bother to tell me. There was a long pause. Will you come or not? I thought about it. The gala would be full of people who'd heard Sierra's version of events. People who thought I was the villain in this story. It would be the perfect opportunity to set the record straight. I'll be there. Thank you. I'm not doing it for you, Sierra. I'm doing it for me. I hung up and called my lawyer, David Chen. He was 45, had been practicing family law for 20 years, and had a reputation for being both brilliant and ruthless. "Nick," he said when he answered, "how's the war going?" "I think it's about to end." "Oh." "Sierra wants me to come to the charity gala on Saturday. She wants to present a united front." David was quiet for a moment. "That sounds like a trap." "It is a trap, but not the kind she thinks." "What are you planning?" "Nothing illegal. Nothing that will hurt my custody case, but something that will make sure everyone in town knows the truth." "Nick, David, she's been destroying my reputation for weeks, telling people I'm emotionally harmful, unstable, dangerous. It's affecting my business, my friendships, my relationship with Alex. I'm not going to let her control the narrative anymore." "What do you need from me?" "Just be ready. After Saturday night, I think Sierra is going to want to settle quickly and quietly." Saturday evening arrived gray and drizzly, perfect weather for what I had planned. I put on my best suit, navy blue, expensive, the one I'd worn to our wedding 15 years ago, and drove to the Halcyon Heights Country Club. The ballroom was decorated in Sierra's favorite colors, gold and cream with white flowers everywhere. About 200 people mingled around cocktail tables, the women in evening gowns, the men in tuxedos and suits. It looked like a scene from a movie about rich people with too much time and money. I spotted Sierra immediately. She was wearing a red dress that probably cost more than most people made in a week. Her hair perfectly styled, her makeup flawless. She was talking to Margaret Walsh and two other women from her company, playing the role of the wronged wife with just the right amount of tragic dignity. Eli was there too, his nose still slightly swollen from our encounter at Tabitha's house. He was talking to a group of men by the bar, probably telling them his version of what had happened. I got a drink and started working the room. Nick, Joe Martinez, appeared at my elbow, looking uncomfortable in a rented tuxedo. "I didn't expect to see you here." "Wouldn't miss it," I said. "How's business?" "Good. Yours?" "Interesting. Very interesting." I spotted Rita Kowalski working behind the bar. She was moonlighting from her regular job, probably making good money serving overpriced drinks to people who thought they were better than her. "Rita," I said, walking over to the bar, "how's the evening treating you?" She looked around nervously. "Fine, Nick. What can I get you?" "Just a beer, and maybe a favor." "What kind of favor?" I pulled out a USB drive and slid it across the bar. "At some point tonight, they're going to do a slideshow presentation about the charity's accomplishments. The computer running it is behind the bar there." Rita looked at the USB drive like it might explode. "Nick, I can't." "It's not illegal. It's not explicit content. It's just the truth." "What's on it?" "Evidence. Photos, recordings, documents. Everything Sierra and Eli have been doing for the past 3 months." Rita stared at me. "You want me to put this in the presentation?" "I want you to accidentally plug it into the wrong port. These things happen at events like this. Technical difficulties." "Nick, Rita, you've seen what they've been doing. You've heard Sierra talking about framing me for domestic violence. You know this isn't just about an affair." She looked around the room, her eyes finding Sierra holding court near the stage. "That woman's been coming into my bar for 2 months, talking about how terrible her husband is, how he doesn't understand her, how he might be dangerous. She's been building a case against you." "I know. And now she wants to play the victim in front of all these people." "That's exactly what she wants." Rita picked up the USB drive. "What happens to me if this goes wrong?" "Nothing. You're just the bartender. You don't know anything about what's on that drive." She nodded slowly. "Give me 10 minutes." I walked back into the crowd, nursing my beer and watching the social dynamics play out around me. People kept glancing at me, whispering to each other, clearly wondering what I was doing there. Margot appeared at my side, looking nervous. "Nick, what are you doing here?" "Supporting local charities. Isn't that what we're all here for?" "You know what I mean." "Actually, I don't. What do you mean, Margot?" She looked around nervously. "Sierra's trying to make this work. She's trying to save your marriage." "By telling everyone I'm controlling and emotionally harmful?" "She never said..." "She told Margaret Walsh I was unstable. She told the police I was stalking her. She told you I was violent before you'd ever seen me be violent. What exactly is she trying to save?" Margot opened her mouth to respond, but the lights dimmed and someone tapped on the microphone at the front of the room. "Ladies and gentlemen," the MC announced, "if you could take your seats, we'll begin the presentation." I found a table near the back of the room. Sierra was at the head table with the other committee chairs, looking radiant and confident. She caught my eye across the room and smiled, not a happy smile, but a triumphant one. She thought she'd won. The presentation started normally enough. Slides about the charity's mission, photos of local projects, statistics about money raised and lives changed. The audience clapped politely and sipped their wine. Then something went wrong with the computer. "I'm sorry," the MC said. "We seem to be having some technical difficulties." Rita was behind the bar, fiddling with cables and looking appropriately confused. The big screen flickered, went black, then came back to life. But instead of charity photos, it was showing a picture of Sierra and Eli kissing in Tabitha's backyard. The room went dead silent. "Oh my God," someone whispered. The slide changed. Now it was showing credit card records, hotel charges, restaurant bills, purchases at Victoria's Secret, all during times when Sierra had claimed to be at work or wine club or the gym. Another slide. Text messages between Sierra and Margot, planning alibis and discussing how to make me look unstable for the divorce. The audience was staring at the screen in fascination and horror. I could see Sierra at the head table, her face white with shock and rage. Another slide, the audio recording from Tabitha's house with subtitles scrolling across the screen. Sierra's voice, clear and unmistakable. He won't see it coming. Eli stood up from his table, looking around frantically like he was planning to run. Another slide. Bank records showing Sierra's secret account and the $5,000 she'd transferred without my knowledge. The final slide was a photo I'd taken with my phone. Sierra's underwear on my kitchen floor, the ones that had fallen out of Eli's pocket that first night. The room erupted. People were talking, shouting, pointing at the screen. Someone was laughing. Someone else was crying. The MC was frantically trying to get the presentation back under control. Sierra stood up from the head table, her face a mask of rage and humiliation. "This is fake!" she screamed over the noise. "He's lying! He made all of this up!" But her voice was being drowned out by the chaos in the room. People were pulling out their phones, taking pictures of the screen, recording videos of Sierra's meltdown. I stood up and walked to the front of the room. Someone handed me the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, my voice carrying over the crowd, "I apologize for the interruption. I know you came here tonight to support local charities, not to watch my personal life explode." The room quieted slightly. "But for the past 3 months, my wife has been telling people that I'm controlling, emotionally unstable, and dangerous. She's been building a case against me based on lies, trying to destroy my reputation and my relationship with my daughter." I looked directly at Sierra, who was standing frozen by the head table. "Sierra, congratulations. You and Eli won each other, and you lost everything else." Eli tried to push through the crowd toward me, but Joe Martinez and 2 other men blocked his path. "You son of a witch!" Eli yelled. "You set this up!" "I didn't set anything up," I said calmly. "I just stopped hiding the truth." Sierra found her voice. "You're sick, Nick. You're obsessed. This is stalking. This is evidence, Sierra. Evidence of adultery, theft, and conspiracy to commit fraud, all of which will be very useful in our divorce proceedings." The crowd was loving it. This was better than reality TV, and it was happening right in front of them. Margaret Walsh stood up from her table. "Sierra, you're fired. Effective immediately." "You can't." "I absolutely can. You violated your morals clause, your ethics agreement, and probably half a dozen other policies. Security will escort you out." Eli made another attempt to reach me, but this time he ran straight into a wall of men who clearly thought he was getting what he deserved. Someone, I think it was Rita's ex-husband, grabbed Eli by the collar and threw him toward the exit. "Get out," the man said, "before someone decides to finish what Nick started." Eli stumbled toward the door, his face a mess of red again. Apparently, someone had reopened his broken nose. Sierra stood alone at the head table, surrounded by 200 people who now knew exactly what kind of person she was. Her carefully constructed image was in ruins. Her job was gone, her lover was fleeing, her marriage was over, and everyone in town had seen it happen. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said into the microphone, "thank you for your attention. Please continue to support the Halcyon Heights Community Foundation. They do excellent work, and they had nothing to do with tonight's entertainment." I handed the microphone back to the MC and walked toward the exit. The crowd parted in front of me like I was Moses crossing the Red Sea. As I reached the door, I turned back for one last look. Sierra was still standing by the head table, tears streaming down her face, completely alone in a room full of people who were already posting about her humiliation on social media. Margot was nowhere to be seen. Apparently, she'd decided to abandon her best friend when the ship started sinking. Tabitha was crying over her ruined social status, knowing that everyone now knew she'd been enabling the affair. And scattered throughout the room were all the people who'd been whispering about me, gossiping about my controlling behavior, ready to testify about my instability. Now they knew the truth. I walked out of the country club into the cool night air, got in my truck, and drove home to my daughter. It was over. Sierra would sign the divorce papers within a week, accepting a settlement that gave me primary custody of Alex and most of our assets. She'd move out of town trying to rebuild her life somewhere that people didn't know her story. Eli would lose his personal training license and eventually move away too, his reputation destroyed beyond repair. Margot would lose several clients who didn't want to work with someone who'd helped cover up an affair and plan false misuse allegations. And I would go back to my normal life, with one important difference. I'd never be underestimated again. The last house on Halcyon Road was quiet that night, and for the first time in months, it felt like home.